Deny the lie.
Welcome back to the Deny the Lie podcast. I'm Tony,
And I'm Simone.
and here we're going to talk about spirits and the afterlife today. So
Yeah.
I know that you have a lot more experience with this than I do, so I'll let
Yeah.
you kick it off.
Okay. So like Tony said, we'll be going over paranormal activity and then just as like an opinion-based thing and also facts that we've gathered from the internet. Um, Tony, do you think ghosts are real?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
pretty plain and
Fair and simple.
simple.
Yeah. So just to go over a quick definition, paranormal event or activity, for example, can be the appearance of a ghost. It can be unexplained scientific laws or that involve strange unknown forces. So a lot of things that can't be explained are just defaulted as paranormal activity. A lot of like scientists don't believe in like ghosts and things like that, so they just label it as paranormal activity because it doesn't really specify ghosts or entities like that. So, like I said, with that, a lot of people try to disprove it with science and logic, which makes sense because it allows us to get the answer that we want and to be able to move on pretty easily. But the thing is, like, what about the explained and how do we process and understand that? Well, it could be tied a lot with spirituality just to get that formation on it. A lot of faithful believers still don't believe in ghosts or spirits, even though it's clearly teaches that in the Bible and just connecting it with more in church and a faithful aspect on it. The Bible does touch on that it's good and evil spirits and then demons who are active among humanity. So it proves that they are there, but there's different beliefs on it. So what is your kind of take on it, Tony? Like, what's your experience with like entities and things like that? Just, I know you said you haven't had a lot. What's your opinion on things like that?
It is definitely real. I can't say much about experiences. I've only had kind of a few, but I
Hmm.
do believe that your spirit is the purest form of yourself, and it's completely abstract from like anything regarding the human condition.
Right.
And what I mean by that is that like it embodies the true nature of your personality, and it just reminds you to detach from your anxieties.
Hmm.
Uh, a good example of this was I don't know, man. I still don't know if this was. I think it was some kind of spirit or some sort of bad astral.
Hmm.
Uh, I remember back in the good old year of 2020, most productive year of my life, that I was finishing up high school classes upstairs right when they were starting to go online. I was doing math homework, and then all of a sudden I heard a super loud and high pitched scream or shriek. And I also heard in my head that we had an altercation, and I was like, what the hell does that mean? So I ran downstairs and I caught my dad at the stairs, and he was like, did you hear that shit? And I was like, yeah. It turned out that my dad was having computer problems the whole morning, and he couldn't get anything to work on his computer. And I think that it might have been a bad spirit or astral messing up his connection or his systems. It was I don't know. The thing is though is that I don't know if I believe that my dad and I are wired a little different now since everything paranormal and ETs, everything like that started. So since there was nobody around in the house, I started thinking about if there was and how insane we both would have looked. Because we literally just ran down the stairs and just looked at each other like, white as a ghost, funny enough.
Hmm.
So I was just like, I wonder if anyone else would have heard that. Because it literally it literally looked like we just ran downstairs and just looked scared.
Yeah, that's interesting because both of you guys heard it. So yeah, I haven't heard that before, but that's kind of fun though. And it was
Yeah.
like, so you guys both had computer issues.
No, it was just him. I was fine.
Hmm. But you heard the scream or screech or
I heard
whatever.
it. I heard it from upstairs. So
Oh.
I was really far away from it. I mean, the way that
Mhm.
my house is set up, like it's you can definitely hear things
Mhm.
a lot better just because it's so open and you can it's just an open house, so it's pretty easy to
Yeah.
hear somebody's conversation downstairs.
Dang. That's like, is that like a one time occurrence type of thing you guys had at your house?
It I think so.
Okay. That's probably a good thing then.
Yeah.
Um
I was actually gonna ask you because I know you have a lot more experience with this
Yeah.
than I have. So I'm gonna throw the ball in your court.
Okay. Well, I've honestly thought or think I've been haunted ever since can remember. I don't know if I'm just prone to having like medium tendencies, and we'll touch on that later in the podcast episode. But it's funny because like I remember when I was like 5, 6, 7 in my first house, and when I used to live in California, I just remember seeing like shadows. I didn't really think anything of it. I mean, of course, I got scared, but didn't think too much with it. And I later on got to be like super haunted when I first moved to my current home, where I grew up mostly before I moved out. But before I get more into the stories, I kind of want to go over why souls, like people who pass away, get stuck. And after death, many souls will get stuck in the ghost state, is what you call it. And I found this really good video on YouTube, and it kind of goes off of a Hindu belief on certain things like that, and it makes a lot of sense, and it was a good way for me to understand it more. So going over the first one, grief, which is a way a soul can get stuck because you're just caught up on not letting go of your life you currently had. Excess to attachment, material objects, desire for sense, which is enjoyment in sex, alcohol, and drugs, which is I don't think very common for people to get hung up on that because that just
Really?
seems a little. You really okay? Like just think about it. You die, and it's like I really want to have sex, I really want to have drugs and alcohol, so I'm gonna stay.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I've never.
You know what I mean? It just sounds weird to me.
It sounded different in my head. Never mind then. Yeah,
Okay,
it
okay,
sounds. Yeah, that makes sense. Then I thought it was
okay,
more. I thought you were talking about like
okay.
fuck
You're
me.
good.
Never mind.
It's okay. Another reason is suicide and then a violent death, and then these two reasons kind of tie into each other. So at the time of death, the brain is so full of emotion, thought, anger, etc., that it could shut down and block the path to reach out to the other side. And that's a big indicator into why spirits stay because they need some sort of release, they need some sort of answer as to like what just happened. And so until they get that, they can't go over. And that's why people have like hauntings with ghosts and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But my question is like, what about evil entities, and how do we explain why those happen to us? Because evil entities aren't so much like ghosts, in my opinion. I don't know if you could agree with that or have an opinion on
Well,
that.
I mean, what I thought with entities or even ghosts, don't they? Isn't the common? Isn't it like common knowledge to say that they attach themselves to lonely people?
Yeah, that's actually great. So from what I've gathered through my research and just like perfectly what you said, they do attach on the weak link basically. So for me, I was the weak link in my family for whatever reason, or I was just super sensitive to it. But a lot of kids or family members who have like troublesome households, and tend to be like the weaker person, they attach themselves to that. So if you go into like a super haunted museum or something, you could attach yourself to something because they'll pick up on that. But I don't think that's so much with spirits that are stuck behind. I think those guys just kind of roam around, and
Okay.
then we'll have entities that are like that are already here from like the universe. Because you know how we talked on our previous episodes that we have the good and bad and the positive, negative, things
Right.
like that, and how basically quote unquote heaven is like the super positive, loving, divine power, while hell is the super negative, like super fearful vibrations, right?
Right.
So that's kind of how what negative entities are. For my personal example of like how I first encountered these negative entities was I would say like I was 14 in high school. I don't know, sophomore, freshman. And like I said, I thought I'd been haunted my whole life. And so I started to pick up on that. I started to get really negative dreams where there was like a demonic thing in my room, and it would throw things around, and I couldn't really move when I saw this entity in my room. It was really scary, and
Wait.
I would just wake
Wait.
up.
Hold on. Hold on. Sorry. It threw stuff.
Yeah, not like actually, but in my dream.
Oh. Okay. Oh. This. Okay.
Yeah, so like
Like, I'd be
this
running for
yeah.
my life.
Oh, I would shit myself for sure. No, this is how it started out. I was in my dream, and I would know it's there because I would just feel like super heavy and negative in my dream, and I would wake up in the middle of the night and just like have something feeling like something staring at me, but I don't know what it was. Didn't know what it was, and I go back to sleep and just kind of hopefully forget about it. So that carried on for about a few weeks, and then I started to walk into my room, being scared, right? So after all those fearful energy vibrations started to gather up, I would walk into my room and I'd feel super heavy and negative. And so that carried on for another few weeks, and I kept on getting those nightmares. I kept on getting scared and feeling that energy. And then about a few months went by. My mom comes up to me and she goes, I was like, she's putting away something in my room. And she goes, I felt like something was watching me. And as she said that, I was like, oh no. So I know I'm not alone. But the thing is, like, the night when she told me, it was the night they were going on vacation. So I'm by myself in this house with this haunted room. And I was like, oh Lord. And then I continued to, like, have those nightmares. And then my room started to smell like sulfur. Um, Things were starting to go missing in my room. Things were moving in my room. And we had, like, this, before my parents left, my neighbors came over. He was like 8 at the time. And he goes, I just saw a cup, like, fly in your room. I was like, what? So I'm just like, okay, my room is just going through something right now. But back to my parents leave for vacation. I'm alone for like 5 days in my house. And my room has never smelled so bad in my life, like sulfur. And so I'm like deep
Oh, I
cleaning it.
bet. Yeah, I bet it smells like ass.
Yeah, so I'm like, why does it smell so bad? Like, I'm not that dirty. So I'm like cleaning everything. Like, I look it online and I'm like, apparently sulfur is like a demonic thing, which I didn't know about, but now we do.
No.
So my parents come back home and I talked to her about it and I was like, look, this is what's happening. And so she takes me to this crystal shop. And this is where I start getting into like crystals and spirituality too. And this medium walks up, which is like someone who is like a psychic and that type. She's like, can I read you? I'm like, sure. So she puts her hand on me. She was like, there's something super deep attached to you that's been there for years and it's been feeding off of your fear. And it's been causing all this stuff to happen. I was like, oh, come on. So,
Ooh.
yeah.
What do you think that could have been then? The entity attached to you. What do you think that it could be from? Just from school, or like what? If you
I
had to put
honestly,
something on it.
okay. I honestly think it was a combination of a whole bunch of stress that I got from school and like soccer. And then I also went to the Alamo Hotel,
Uh,
which was like super haunted apparently. And the night that I stayed there, I woken up to like crawling on my shoulder, and I looked to the side and my bed sheets were like completely flipped over. And I remember going to bed with my sheets like all like flat and out everything. So I'm pretty sure it was that. And if that's the case, that thing has been attached to me for 3 years since finding that out.
so some dude from the Alamo followed you home? Is
I
that what I'm
I'm
getting at?
I'm honestly I'm guessing. So I don't know if it was an evil entity, but she said it was a man. So I
Huh.
just think it was a super depressed ghost spirit that has been, it picked me up because I'm feeding it energy.
Right. And
So
do you think that just because you believe in the afterlife, ghosts and stuff like that, that they're it's a lot easier to get attached to you that way?
I definitely think it's a component because I'm open to it. So there's
Right.
this there's this thing where it's like, if you know your power, demons, entities can't touch you. But the thing is, I think I open myself up to them, allowing them to attach to me because I had that fear. So as long as you don't have that fear and you have that confidence, they can't do anything.
Right, because that's what some of my family have been saying.
Hmm.
Or maybe not family, but definitely friends. It's like I choose not to believe in them, so then they don't
Yeah,
come at me.
exactly. Which is funny because I would like, oh yeah, ghosts are real, and then it gets haunted. And I'm like, okay.
Huh.
I think like you said, it's funny how it works.
Interesting.
Yeah. So just to wrap up the story really quickly, because like, it's kind of long, but I go in there. She gives me like this fairy crystal cross, which is like a saint protection necklace. I wear it. I go to bed. I like sage my room. I do this chant that she gave me, and I wake up and I can't move. So I'm having sleep paralysis because I see the entity's face in front of me, and it's all
Dog.
black, and I can't move, and I feel it's like it's like taking energy out of me. So I'm laying down. I'm literally going like and like and I can't
Um,
move and it's just there. So I finally get
jeez.
the numbing sensation back and I like close my eyes and I go back to sleep. Just like don't open the eyes. Like that was so scary and it goes away and I haven't had any interactions with that entity since, but I've had multiple other encounters that's just because it was my fault, but that was the scariest moment of my life.
So he just decided to leave you alone finally, or what? Or was it like when you
Yeah,
finally moved out?
I cleansed my room, I cleansed myself, and I got the crystals, which is
Mhm.
actually a really good way to protect yourself from entities. Is clear quartz and black tourmaline, and I put that as a barrier in my room, and that really helped.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Huh.
yeah, that was my little story example.
It was definitely special. I
Yeah.
can't say I know too many people who've had that happen to them.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, like, there's a lot of stories out there that have stuff like that, and there's a lot more worse too, which is like, you've heard of some exorcisms and stuff like that. So
Right. I think the people who just choose not to believe in ghosts is just for that reason we were talking about earlier about, oh
yeah,
yeah, I choose not to believe it so that it doesn't come into my life. Because there's plenty of this shit on YouTube. Like it's there's no
yeah,
denying that there's something going on after you die.
yeah.
So
No, I think you're 100% right on that. Just to choose to ignore it because my older brother could care less about this stuff and has no issues, while my youngest brother is sensitive to this and experiences all of these hauntings too. So I
uh,
don't know if it's you're allowing it to happen or what, or they just know that they're real, so they choose to mess with you. So
or it skips a sibling.
true, yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
yeah, I just think it's funny. Well, two of my grandmothers are witches, and they can also communicate with spirits, and I think I'm blaming them. We got probably just have a family curse or something. I don't know, but they would see orbs and like talk to them. I'm like, I don't know what they were doing, but I didn't want any part of it.
Damn.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So connecting it more with spirituality and just being an overall good and positive person, do you have like I know you probably know some things to do with like sage and how to cleanse yourself, maybe, and
Yeah,
how that can
so
kind of help.
yeah, so I kind when I had my episode in 2020, I was by
Hmm.
myself in that little apartment. I used to sage pretty much every day.
Yeah.
I can't say that it did wonders for me. Again, it was probably my fault. I refused to change my environment and how I was living.
Yeah.
It's
It's okay.
100% on me with that one. I do think that it helped in the aspect of clearing the mind a little bit more. Because,
Hmm.
I feel like certain scents trigger certain emotions and memories even.
Yeah.
Like I noticed that like when I smell lavender or something like that, I'm immediately calmer.
Hmm.
I think that is kind of the same thing with sage, even though it does
Yes.
kind of smell like pot.
That's the downside.
Yeah, that's the bad part. Um,
Yeah.
Another good method is to also ground yourself. I've done this throughout meditation and nature. I noticed that when I'm feeling a little bit more overwhelmed, I'm starting to go a little bit more on nature walks.
Hmm.
It just kind of helps to change your environment and to see a bunch of greenery. Just
Yeah.
kind of reminds you that's like, oh yeah, everything's temporary. We're all good. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Just makes you feel a little bit better about that. I also believe that there are there are a lot of meditations on YouTube they
Yeah.
can search up. You can help to cleanse negative energy or get rid of any past trauma, something that's holding you back. I have been
Hmm.
doing a few of those. I do think that it is a repetitive process. You're not going to feel you maybe won't feel different on the first try or after the first
Right.
round. I think it's something that you just have to keep on doing until you eventually feel a little different or a little bit better.
Hmm. Yeah. That's actually interesting because you mentioned meditation because there's this one that my coach actually sent me because she's also very much into spirituality, but it's a light work meditation, and it's
Mhm.
basically these types of like star seed human beings that know how to do these types of languages, I guess. And this one's light work, but she basically on this meditation I do, she like cleanses you through the meditation. So she'll be like clicking and then saying some random chants, not obviously random, but it does miracles because when I get super negative, and this I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. I'm not sure much like that you have had it happen to you, Tony, but when you get super negative and just downright like depressed, you start to like have stagnant energy in the building. And then I usually see shadow people. That's how I know I'm super depressed because I'll just be carrying a whole bunch of negativity and I'll just see in the corner of my eyes literally people just standing, but
Yeah,
they're
that
they're
happens to
like
me, but
shadows.
Yeah, that happens to me, but I don't see people. I don't see
Oh,
shadows.
okay. I don't see like actual people, but I'll see shadows. And I think it's like something following me. It's like, hey, I know you're depressed and like I want that energy, which is creepy and weird to say, but that's for me how I know I'm super down. I'll do this meditation, instantly goes away. I don't know what it is. I shadow people I've heard, or for through my experience, is like an entity combined with some sort of like universal spirit guide. So they're not good, but they're
Oh,
not bad. They're just
interesting.
there. Yeah, I don't know too much about it to give a lecture on it, but that's just my understanding on it from what I've learned through like online, of course.
Yeah. So I'm gonna lay out the red carpet with this question. So there's clearly an afterlife. What do
Yeah,
you think it's actually like? Because I feel like the ghosts and stuff that we're experiencing, they're stuck there, as you
yeah,
said.
yeah.
So where else would you go? Where do you think you'd go?
That's a great question. And I think from a few episodes ago, we've kind of talked about how, you know, how you go into the white light, that's basically transferring you into the afterlife of where you go to your council, you go to your spirit guides, and you go like, this is what you did in life, this is what you're supposed to do, blah blah blah. This is
They
what
just
you
give you a
accomplished.
summary?
I'm assuming, I think it's like a kind of a video of your life and just like a recap of everything. And it's like, well, did you accomplish what you're supposed to accomplish, or did you succeed in your free will? And then you go up from there. I think the afterlife is like that's such a good question because like again, we don't really completely know, but from what we've like discovered, it's just like the council meeting with things like that, and then you just go into like a rehab basically for your soul.
Huh. Well,
Well, what is your take on it?
so I clearly have a very strong belief in the afterlife. I
Mhm.
can't say exactly that I know what's gonna happen. I
Yeah.
went to Catholic school and I went to
Same.
church twice per week. So definitely believe in God. And
Yeah.
I just started getting kind of back into it recently. Uh so I do believe that there is a heaven and a creator because all this shit is way too meticulous and
Yes.
like everything intertwines with itself. I just don't think it can just happen that way. I think it
Right.
feels like somebody designed it. Kind of how you feel like you have a dissociation sometimes and you feel like you're in the Matrix.
Yeah.
And it
All the
kind of
time.
feels like that. It's like, oh yeah, huh.
I
You really just do whatever you
exist.
want. And what I
Yeah.
mean, and why I think that that's important is so I was talking to my dad about this. I was talking about manifestation and stuff like that. He said he brought up a really good point. So he said, since our thoughts make our reality, do the same principles apply to the afterlife? Do you think that makes
Mhm.
sense?
No, I yeah, completely. And I think it does to an extent because right, God, that conscious entity
Right.
is just full of love, right?
Right. What I'm thinking is like if you didn't believe in God, if you were an atheist or something, and you believe
Mhm.
that it's a dirt nap, like is that what you're gonna get?
Like you're just dead, you're dead.
Yeah. So if you believe that it's a dirt nap, you're gonna have a dirt nap. But if you believe that you're going somewhere or you're going to heaven or wherever, like do you think it's
Mhm.
up to the individual's interpretation of the afterlife and then that's what they get?
I don't think so. And they could of course think that now, but when they actually pass away, they'll see we'll get the actual truth. Because right, there's like 1,000 religions, right? Do you think every single one of them's gonna match to what they think?
Well,
No.
that's what I'm wondering though, because
Right.
if you're Muslim and or you believe that there are 70 some odd virgins waiting for you in heaven, which to me
Mhm.
sounds like a lot of work, but um if
I hate
you're
you.
waiting for that many virgins in heaven, is that what you're gonna get? Or do you think it's a one size fits all thing?
Personally, I think it's a one size fits all.
I
It
just think
that's
it's captivating because it could be true. I mean, you
you're
wouldn't
right,
know when
'cause you
everybody
do manifest yeah.
the people that have died, those of them being Christian, they usually all see the same resemblance of what heaven is, right? Or what God is.
Yeah, right. But in the terms of the universe and God and things like that, the divine love shouldn't subject someone to just experiencing that thing. So again, if you're an atheist, as a highest love divine entity, do I really want them just to experience dirt? No. So
Right.
I want them to experience, because again, reincarnation, right? If the whole point is awakening to knowing who you are in that spirituality realm. So I'm gonna take that individual who is obviously, I'm not gonna say wrong religion because that's wrong to
Yeah.
say, but maybe not fully awakened to finally experience that. It's like, hey, bud, kind of didn't do what you're supposed to do. Let's retry that.
I think that's
That's
probably the best way about go about it. I think that does
Yeah,
make a lot of sense.
because your dad had a great thought. Like, do you actually manifest what you think here?
Well, no,
Well,
because he
because
brought it.
for
He brought it up to me, so I was like, I started thinking about it. I'm like, dude might have a point.
no, that's a no. I was gonna say that's a great like observation that he had, because
He
I
was
never thought about that.
he was like telling me in the car. He's like, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? And I was
Yeah,
like, well, yes and no.
right. No, because
That
like
like
yeah, and I also grew up Catholic, and the issue that I had with it was that it's so old school and so strict that I just hated it because it was so strict. You know how your parents say like, no, you can't even do soda, and then you like finally move out of the house and all you drink is like soda.
because you
It's
want to
kind
be
of
a
like that.
bad. It's because you want to be a
Yeah,
bad bitch, you know?
I just want to be batty, right? So
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
um, then I finally realized the importance of having faith and allowing yourself to be who you are and kind of balancing the two. And then I also realized like everybody is entitled to their own belief, and that's their freedom.
It's literally about just putting trust into something greater than yourself and knowing that it will
Exactly.
work out.
Exactly.
I think that's what it all pretty much just comes back to.
Yeah, you manifest what you want in life, be a good person, and then just understand that there's something out there and like you're supposed to awaken and find your inner purpose. That to me is just more anything that I need. And of course, like the Bible and like how it has its verses and things like that. But um tying in with what your dad said, I think that was a great question.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm throwing another one at you. What do you think you're here to do, knowing what you know now?
Damn it, Tony. I don't
It's kind of a
know.
loaded one.
I
Or maybe I do, and I just don't think I do.
right. I mean,
No,
that's a great
no,
question.
I threw a curveball at you, kind of out of left field right there.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, let's just make her stutter.
Yeah, what am I supposed to know now that makes me think I know
Or
my
what
purpose?
would you tell? And maybe this is a better question.
Okay.
What would you tell yourself, knowing what you know now, when you were maybe in high school, or like just getting into high school, starting to go through puberty? Like, what do you
Okay.
think you tell yourself?
Okay. Just off of anything, doesn't have to be about spirituality related. Or
It,
kind of
well,
anything.
yeah.
Okay.
I'd rather have it be
Well,
spirituality. Just like, oh
right,
yeah,
right,
wear
right.
tampons. Like, no, like,
No. Where? Okay.
I don't know. Not a
Okay,
girl.
I'm giving you a hard time. Okay. Um, I'd say honestly to not care, because I spent so long in high school like trying to get the perfect grades, trying to one up my brothers, trying to prove my parents something, that I'm worth something, that like for something for them to be proud of me, when I should have gotten something that made myself proud. So honestly,
That's a really good one.
yeah, just to not care. When I committed to college, I was like, ha, look, mom and dad, I did it. And then I got nothing out of it. Honestly, like when I committed for sports for college, I was like, all right, what's next?
Huh.
And to me, that was an eye awakening moment, because I spent so many hours and trainings and money and just to get that moment, and it didn't feel like anything because I didn't do it for myself.
Right. It wasn't as satisfying as you thought it was going to be.
Right. So my advice to anybody who's listening is do things that make you happy and to just live life and honestly not care, because when you don't care to the extent that you should, or if that kind of makes sense,
No, it does.
it always works out. If it's meant to happen, it'll always work out. That's my advice to myself.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Not
What about
care.
you? Yeah.
I would
What
honestly
about you?
say be more of a shithead.
Okay. Okay, why?
Dude, I was just such a little bitch. Like like I would just I don't know. Like I refuse to pretty much do anything with my friends. Like I would literally
Mhm.
get up early just so I could just watch YouTube. Like that's literally all I did.
Well,
And well, I mean, yeah, but like, you're
it's yeah,
15,
you're good.
16,
Right. You
so
don't know.
it's whatever. But I would honestly say, dude, have a lot more fun because now that I'm in college and after going through high school, I was like, oh, college is going to be the big leagues. Got here and I was like, wow,
This
boy, am I disappointed.
not
It's
you
just,
speaking facts.
dude, the teachers were like, oh, yeah, they're not going to be as lenient with you in college. Like, dude, these people are more lenient than you guys ever were.
Oh my god, yeah. I
Like, oh,
had a
you need another
professor.
week? Here you go.
Yes. Oh my god, yes.
I would
I
literally
love it.
just say, yeah, just be more of a shithead and have more fun because I didn't do that until
Mhm.
probably around junior or senior year. And once I started doing that, I was like, man, it actually doesn't suck to be here. And
Right.
I'm trying to do that in college. The thing is, though, is that some people just don't want to talk. Like, this could be an
Yeah.
episode within itself, is just how antisocial people are now. But
Mhm.
I mean, just like, dude, it's not that serious, but probably just have some childhood trauma about school.
Wow. No, I think yeah, live life. That is a good answer. And so I'm gonna ask you this then. With all of that information, knowing what you should have done when you're younger, what is a goal that you're setting yourself for like the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh, fuck. 5 to 10 years, dude?
Anywhere in that range. Or what's a big goal that you wish before a certain age? I don't know. You're 20 now, so
Hmm,
25?
25. It sounds really fucked up, but I would really love a near death experience. Not to like get hit by a bus. See your face. Not to like get hit by a bus or anything. I mean, like, just let me die for at least 10 seconds normal time and make it feel like half a minute or something. I just
Wow.
like I dead ass just want to know that there is something beyond this. I obviously do
Yeah.
have a very strong belief in God,
Yep.
yet there is a little part of me that does wonder sometimes.
Yeah,
But
you just want the visual proof maybe?
well, there's plenty of proof about it.
Mhm.
It's just something more of myself. I just like an experience like that because I feel like
Mhm.
I would be able to leave a lot of things behind once that happens and just
Yeah.
have more of an ego death that I just wouldn't care to to an extent about the things that
You do,
consistently
right?
give me things that consistently give me anxiety and worry and just make my life a hell in my head. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah, no, and I think it's as vulgar as that sounded, that is a great way of thinking about it.
It is pretty messed up, you know. People are like, "Oh, I want to buy a new car." Oh, I want a house. No,
I
I want
wanna
to
die.
die.
Yeah.
No, not like stay dead. Because to
Right.
be fair, knowing what we know now, I don't think that we could die and stay dead.
No. Because then, honestly, we would fail what we're supposed to do now and then have to come back, and I really don't wanna come back.
No, I just think because I talked with my dad about this too. He's like, "No, because if you tried to kill yourself, I think that you would just get paralyzed and then you'd get yeeted back here, and now you're just in a wheelchair for the rest of your life."
Yeah.
So that's just something to think about. But
Yeah, so
another thing is to actually know what to do career wise in order to make money. Like, I clearly
yeah.
know that I'm here for spiritual purpose. Still
Mhm.
working on that too. I feel like I'm
Right.
closer to figuring that out than I am the career one.
Yeah.
But it's just to try to find something that I'm good at and that I enjoy, and I don't wake up every day being like, "Oh shit, I got to go to my job." You know, I hate that feeling more than
I
anything.
Yeah, I'd hate that. I just a little off topic, I went to this government office a few days ago for my speech for this class, and I've never seen like the office setting looks like a prison cell. You
Mm.
have all these little cubes. I'm like, I don't ever want to be in that for 8 hours a day for the rest of my life. No, thank you. And that's sad to think like that's our future. And I'm
Well,
like,
it doesn't have to be.
right, but that's like the corporate job is the money, or you go to trade school. So,
Hey man, trades are gonna be making a lot of money soon.
oh no, I'm not hating on the trades. It is where it's at. But I don't think I'm gonna be a great welder because I'm in college and I'm not doing that. I'm in communications, so not my forte.
You're
But
using your major right now.
I am using my major. I love and hate my major, but that's different story.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but kind of tying everything back in. I think your questions were amazing about Afterlife, and that
Well, I just think
made it.
it's how you. I think it's a good question to ask too. Of what do you think you're here to do?
Yeah,
Because I don't think people give more than half a thought to it. The same thing with what do you think you're here to do, or what would you tell yourself what you knew now? Because I think
yeah,
you can learn a lot about people just asking those questions,
mm-hmm.
kind of dig to their core.
Yeah, and I agree. Um, yeah, that pretty much sums up like what I had to do about entities and spirituality. It's just there's not much to it. I think a lot of personal stories are really fun to talk about. Just
Oh,
to
I have
kind of
one more. I have one
understand.
more.
Oh, okay, okay.
I have one more.
Sorry.
Literally just thought of it.
All
So
right.
my grandma passed away in January of 2021, and
Mm-hmm.
my parents have one of those. What is it? It's like a robo vacuum. It like grows around your house and cleans. It
Oh yeah,
looks like a
like those rubber.
frisbee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks like a frisbee on the ground. Um, so my mom was like laying in bed one night, and she was like, I think she was talking to my grandma, her mom, just let me know everything's okay and like you're doing well. And um the robot thing that cleans the ground just turned on randomly and like started beeping at her.
Uh,
Yeah.
that is so cool.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, mom, think that's
Jeez.
it.
Yeah, that also
Pretty hard
reminds
to
me. I
deny
had
that.
Yeah, that's freaking amazing. And the fact that it happened that fast is pretty dope too. So,
Well, yeah, I don't know if it happened like instantly, maybe just
oh,
you know
that's what I say.
throughout
That's
the night,
scary. Oh, okay,
something.
okay, yeah. I kind of had the same thing. So when my grandmother passed away about 2 years ago, we were at her like afterlife party. We were like, give us a sign. And I looked at the clock and it was 11:11. I'm like, okay,
Mm.
that's a cute little sign. My mom started freaking out. She's like, oh my god. I'm like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. It was funny. I get back home, super upset about it because it was a sudden death. We weren't really expecting it, and I
Mm.
hadn't seen her prior for about a few years, so that really sucked because she was a bed rest. And so I asked, I was like, why'd you pass away, or how'd you pass away? Because I was like, I don't think it was ready. She was ready yet. Because when she passed away, my mom said she was reaching out for something. Her hand was stuck like upwards when she was laying down.
Huh.
Like, so I was like, okay. So I think something was pulling her. I don't know, or something like that. And so always get messages in my dreams whenever I manifest something or for I need an answer. I get it in my dreams. I'm
Lucky.
manifesting. So I'm manifesting like, why did you pass away again? How did you pass away? So I'm in this room, like in this bar, and I'm not 21, so I don't know. I'm in a bar, and she walks through this door, and she looks as I remember her, but healthy, and she gives me a hug, and she's like, "Come on, go in my car." And she's never driven, so I don't know why since I've been alive with her, she's never once driven a car. So I'm like, okay, this is new. So I'm in the back seat of her car. She's driving, and she points to the back seat, and there's this bag. And so I look into the bag, and there's a whole bunch of red pills. So I'm thinking she's telling me I think the
uh,
medicine is what caused her to pass away
dude,
because her
that makes me think of the Matrix.
yeah.
That ass just made me think of the Matrix, like red pill or blue
So
pill.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
it just gave you a whole new way of interpreting that one.
oh sorry. Yeah.
No,
So
you're
I
fine.
thought
Keep going.
I mean it was kind of sad, but I think that was awesome that she was able to reach out to me like that and how manifestation can work in wonderful ways and how I don't know what spirituality and tying it in with it like ghosts and spirits and how you can use your powers that everybody is born with, like being a medium in channeling in loved ones and things like that.
Yeah, I think you can talk to your loved ones that are dead. I just think it might require a lot of energy, or maybe there's like special permissions
Yeah,
that they have to get or something.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's a there's a checklist they have to meet.
yeah. I've always found it pretty easy to communicate with spirits just because it's in my family. I talked to a medium about it because every time I tend to hold an object, I feel emotion, and that's a form of mediums. I think it's psychometry is whatever you say it because like one time I was picking up something and I felt an emotion towards it and I started having dreams about certain things that connected to this object, and there's entities, and I was like, what? But again, if you ignore it, it goes away. So that's what I did. Pro tip. Yeah, this world is so confusing, and I don't even know where to begin sometimes.
There's
but-
just so much more crap here and so many other things that if I knew as a kid, I would, oh my, well, you'd just be so far ahead.
yeah. The thing is, they don't want us to know about anything.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Still have to live
but
here, though. We need them in order to grow, so it's okay.
Proof. You're right. You're right. Makes me feel like a baddie. I'm like, ha, did it anyway. Just kidding. I don't do anything illegal. I promise.
Yeah, you do.
Okay. All right. Well, that's pretty much all I had for about ghost stuff.
Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed that story. That was actually could relate to it a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add?
I think I'm Gucci.
Alrighty, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening. I'll put a whole bunch of links in for you guys in the description if you want to go check out some of the resources I looked at and the videos I looked at, especially the meditation if you're interested. And without further ado, we'll see you in the next episode.
Yes, sir. Hope y'all enjoy that new audio intro and outro too.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Money. Total control. Deny the lie.